I'm gonna start recording, and we're just gonna start off, guys, like we do every week. Just gonna look over some news for the week. If you're just getting in to the session, just post in the chat where y'all are calling in from. We know it's Monday for some of you. Yeah, for John, it's Monday.
He's ahead of us all.
Let's see.
From Florida. Okay. But yeah, we're going to jump into some news, guys. It's good to kind of make ourselves aware of, some high impact stuff, if any, for the week ahead. You don't want to get caught off guard. So yeah, it makes sense to see what's in store.
Yeah, I mean, the more that I'm in the markets, guys, the more that I realize that fundamentals are really what drives everything. So the more that we can leverage these news events and understand where the news is taking us, we're ultimately going to be more successful that way. Filter. So like Nick said, there's not always events. There's usually USD events. There's not always events for some of the other currency pairs. But this week we've got some GBP news. We've got Bank of England. The governor is speaking. So let's go ahead and expand this. Oh, and for everyone that's in TFT, this is the site that we use for the news. So make sure to use this site. If you guys are trading a funded account, this is what you should be monitoring on some of the challenges. We do have some rules around the news, so definitely take a look at this if you guys are on a funded account for TFT. So getting to this GBP, we've got this guy speaking. So if you guys have never used Forex Factory, you can come in here and you can just see a bit more details on what's going on here, see why traders care, all this. We're not going to get too much into it right now, but the main things to watch for is going to be Wednesday, pretty much the whole last half of the week here, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We've got a bunch of things coming out for USD. We've got this releasing. We got the CPI month over month, year over year. So these are releasing. And then we've got these retail sales metrics, consumer data. And then again, we've got this guy speaking on Saturday, so it's not going to affect us too much. So mainly USD news coming out for the week. If we come in, we've also got this GDP folder on Wednesday for GBP, which should be pretty interesting. So we've got the minutes. If you guys do go as in depth as reading into the minutes, then I would suggest this week to look into that. Let's just open this one up and let's see. So what I like is how it shows you over the last several months what the forecast was, what the actual was. So this one has tended to come in better than expected, month over month. So yeah, if you guys want to read more into this, we're not going to get too in depth when it comes to fundamentals right now, just because we could spend a whole session kind of talking about all of this stuff. But definitely come over, check out Forex Factory, and yeah. So that being said. Yeah. That being said, I'm going to pass it over to Nick. He's going to cover his analyses for the week. If you guys have any questions, just post up in the chat. And if you want to enter the giveaway, just post on your story, you guys on the Blitz, and just tag the funded trader and tag Forex League. So I hand it over to you, Nick.
All right. Let me just share up here.
There you go.
We'll get going. But yeah, thanks, Angelo, for going over the news there. We know that potentially after Wednesday, things could get kind of shaky depending on how dramatic that news is regarding the dollar. So something to be aware of, which is good. So now let's jump over to the TA side of things, right? We've made ourselves aware. We're going to jump over to the TA. And before we even get into any tradable pair, we're going to take a look at the dollar. Obviously, the dollar has kind of been the heavy hitter for the last, honestly, 2+ years. We've been seeing major movement out of the dollar, and that's kind of been dragging the market in, either direction on our tradable pairs. So it's always good to stop in, see what the dollar's doing. We analyze it like any other tradable pair, but then we'll just take this information as an indicator and then use that on our other pairs. Okay, so again, this is just the dollar, DXY, and we're using this to just kind of understand the strength of the dollar for more recent price action, because that's what we're trading. So I'm also going to go through this method. I do this when trying to find trade setups and analyzing. I'm going to jump up to the daily time frame on every single pair I'm going to present to you guys. I'm going to assess the overall trend. see what price action's been doing, what kind of trend, what kind of state price action's in, and then drop down and come up with other scenarios. Okay, I'm gonna do this on every single pair. And this is good to see like where price action has been the last few months, how steady the trend is, and maybe what, we could see continue, or start to reverse based on what we're seeing. So let's just follow price action back at the beginning here over in March. So it's pretty far away from where we are now, obviously. And let's just see what's been happening. So price action has been moving higher, forming strong characteristics of a bullish trend. So what are those? Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, and a pretty steady angle, not too dramatic where it's unsustainable and not really flat where there's no direction. This is pretty healthy, right? We're getting these nice pushes to the upside, retests of prior highs, followed by the next move and so on and so on. So the dollar is very much bullish. We could even see now that we got our most recent higher low, followed by a nice bullish variation. So 3 days of really good bullish strength. So just on this chart, we could see that price action is moving up and most likely will. Okay, so that's good. We have that trend in mind. We know the dollar's, again, super bullish. We can now drop to the 4-hour time frame and now assess price action, more recent price action here. And this is going to be more or less the trend that's going to highlight movement for the week ahead, right? So if we're spotting a really strong 4-hour trend that's bullish, that's probably going to continue for the week, right? That's how I'm approaching it. I'm a swing trader. I hold trades for anywhere from, a day to 3 days, roughly, and I prioritize the 4-hour time frame. This is where I see the potential movement for the week ahead the best. Okay, that's probably the best way I could describe it. So what's going on here on the 4-hour? Okay, we saw that this was a recent rally coming out of DXY. We hit 114.2, which is, our newest resistance level. Then price action reversed from there, came all the way down towards 110.7, found structure right at 61.8. Right, so those are our fibs and also matched this prior high. So a pretty big confluence area, reversed pretty hard from there and then went bullish. So we broke back above 112. And the most likely scenario is that this will continue to rally, right? It took a lot of energy to bounce and then break some levels. So it's probably going to continue, right? This is the closest to playing out. So that gives us a lot of information for the week ahead, right? I mean, if the dollar is looking like it's going to maintain a bullish trend, we can use that information on pairs like, all the majors, AU, any, UCAD, any really USD pair, UJ, that's going to give us a lot of information, right? And then the opposite, right? If it was bearish, if we broke below 112, started pushing lower, got a lower low, followed by a lower high, that's going to tell us the dollar's looking more bearish. We could see a little bit of downside movement for the week ahead. Okay, so we're really using this more or less as an indicator. And I'm not taking trades based on, each candle, like, oh, there's an engulfing happening here on DXY. That means there's, a bearish engulfing happening on AU. So I'm going to take that trade. That's not really how we're applying it. It's more or less just the overall sentiment that we want to be aware of. So here on the 4-hour as well, looking more bullish. Okay, we've locked that in. Now we just need to see more and wait for price action to, further develop. So with that information, we can now jump over to AU, our first tradable pair, and start scoping for, potential setups. So we're going to do the same thing we did on DXY, jump up to the daily time frame, clear up the chart, and then just see what the overall trend is, right? And we can do that just by identifying characteristics of a bearish trend or bullish trend. In this case, we're seeing lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs at a pretty steady angle. So it's looking very much bearish. Okay, and especially this low, which we're at now. And again, here, it doesn't show that it's reversing, right? There's no sign of this trend slowing down yet. Right? These are still printing, or price action still, showing us very large bearish candles. Okay, so overall, very bearish. Let's now go to the 4-hour and see what the potential is for this week. Okay, so overall, bearish here on the 4-hour. But we can see we've been seeing some consolidation, right? Once we broke 0.655, we hit 0.64, bounce back up, bounce back down, up, right? So this is clearly a range. And ranges are pretty nice because it makes it really easy to see what could happen. Either the range is going to continue, meaning price action is just going to push up, which is this orange scenario here, going to push up, and then we'll look for reactions there, or the range is going to break. Okay, now we're at support, so obviously the most likely scenario to happening is this is going to break lower and then come back, give us a lower high, ideally clear structure as close to 38.2 as possible. And then this becomes a really good confluence area where we'd look for entries. So this would be really, really nice. Classic break and retest little bit of right, nice range, break of the range, and then just a trend continuation. So we have this trade marked up here. It's looking like a 3-to-1, risking 35, looking to get around 105. And this winds up right at our negative 27% fib level. So pretty good trade, right? Definitely closer to this bearish scenario happening, right? We only need really a few more candles before we could spot some sort of entry, opposed to the long scenario where we have to break back above 0.64, see some sort of higher low, and then, okay, this is going to probably push back up at that point. Hey, but pretty clear. I mean, let me know what you guys think in chat, if you're more bullish or bearish on AU. But yeah, this is looking pretty good. I'll be waiting for this one, looking like a Monday play. So let's jump over to AJ. Somewhat similar, but we'll get down to that in a second. First thing we're going to do, jump to the daily time frame and just assess the trend, right? What's AJ been doing? Is it showing us any change, or is it really showing us that it's still continuing? Okay, so here it's looking bullish, higher high, higher low, higher high, a little bit of consolidation in here, followed by the next higher high. Now price action did pull back. We could see that there's massive support here, and this is really going to be the be all end all level. You can just see that from this zone here. If this zone breaks right at 92, it's going to look more bearish on the daily. As long as we're above this zone, it's looking like more bullish. Okay, so the daily is bullish, but the 4-hour very clearly bearish. You could just see that from the higher time frame too. And that's this right here, right? This is the most recent high on the daily that we just covered. We hit 98.4, and then it's been tanking from there. All right, we got a lower low here, lower high, broke this minor level, shot right through 95 support to a new low, and then we've been consolidating since we hit 93. Okay, so a little bit of a choppy range where it's disrespecting this upper zone, but still qualifies as a range, right? So, again, like we just talked about on AU, there's really only two ways a range could play out. If we're at support, it's either going to break or bounce. In this case, it looks like it broke, kind of just trickled through this level right here at 93. And now we're looking for the pullback, confirm lower high below, really clean structure. And then we could entertain short scenarios. We can start looking for shorts if that happens. If price action looks really clear, we spot nice rejection, I would definitely feel confident in targeting down towards 91. So I have a trade marked up here. I'd be risking roughly 40 pips to get 150, almost a 4-to-1. Okay, and again, slightly this will vary depending on where that price action actually, comes in. The confirmation actually comes in, but roughly, pretty good trade. My rule personally is I won't take a trade if it has to be at least 2-to-1 risk reward. If it's under that, like 1.5-to-1, I won't even entertain it. It's not worth the trade. And I'm also not targeting like super crazy, like 30-to-1. I'm very realistic. Usually between 2-to-1, 5-to-1. That's really where my range is. Okay, but this looks like a pretty good scenario. Just wait for that to play out. But let's consider the opposite, right? Let's say it fails to give a structure below 93. This turns into more or less of a fake out. Price action has to pop back above 93, give us some sort of retest, high or low, kind of like this, and then we could be pretty confident and say this is going to push up to the 95 area. And then same thing, if we're in a range and we're at resistance, there's only two ways it could play out. It's either going to bounce back down and continue the range, or it's going to break and change trend. Okay, so it's really pretty clear to see. Let me know what you guys think about this one in chat. But yeah, AU and AJ are pretty lined up, looking similar in their setups. So let's move over to UJ. Same thing, daily time frame, clear up the chart. What's price action been doing? So this is probably the most bullish pair right now. Just UJ's just been on a rally for a very long time. We could just zoom out even more here. This thing has just been moving higher and higher, and it all kicked off back here in March 2022, right? At least this most recent rally. So again, all we need is the trend. We're here on the daily. We're seeing higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. We're at a high, and we could already see some consolidation. So nothing here suggests this is bearish. Very strongly bullish. So let's just go right down to the 4-hour and see what this week is looking like based on price action. All right, so here is the 4-hour. Why is it shifted? Let's just fix that real quick. Okay. So that's going to bother me. 1 second. All right. So here is the consolidation that we just covered at the high, right? So we saw this massive rally on UJ on the daily time frame, all the way up to 145, and then we started ranging, this high volume ranging. Now this is obviously news oriented, huge volume there, but price action is comfortable staying at this high, right? Nothing here has really changed the overall trend. We didn't really see a massive break of support. Sure, we have the news, but nothing here is showing us like a steady downtrend. You know, it's just really all bullishness, and it's either high volume consolidation or really tight consolidation, both of which suggest that the bulls, bullish pressure is still very much in control. So we did see a break of 145, which is what this all was suggesting anyway, right? We're consolidating at a high, tighter consolidation, really tight range, and we're getting these, bullish attempts to break. Finally, it happened. But now, we need structure, something a little more clear. We spent a lot of time consolidating here. Usually there's a pretty large move that comes forward after that type of consolidation. So I'm not really convinced this is the true break yet. I think this could push a little bit higher and then come back for a true higher low. And then we could entertain some serious long scenarios. In my opinion, UJ is super overvalued. We haven't seen these highs in a very long time. So, I'm definitely hesitant in buying, UJ, at least for, significant amounts. But we could find some decent trades, at least 2-to-1, abiding by our rules, and get some good setups out of this, right? I mean, we're following price action, regardless, regardless of what we would like to see. But yeah, this is what we get. I mean, UJ is still at the bottom of my watch list. There's definitely other pairs that are looking better. But yeah, I mean, this is what it's showing us, right? It's going to keep going long, and we just need to see structure in order to gain confidence in jumping on board with that. So what's the opposite, right? Let's say this is a fake out. Let's say this wick is kind of foreshadowing all the rejection that's lying in this area. Price action falls right back through 145. Get a low. More importantly, we're looking for that lower high. And then to us, it would say, okay, we're still going to consolidate. It's not ready to break out. We need to see more. Okay, now I'm not necessarily sure I would take that short either. I know if you guys are more intraday traders, there could be a scenario there if price action does re-enter this range. And then you would just target towards the bottom of the range. Pretty straightforward. But yeah, that's UJ. Again, bottom of my list. Really not, praying for trades on UJ lately. But let's keep moving. Let's jump over to EJ. This one's looking pretty good. And let's just zoom out. Same thing. Daily time frame. What's the overall trend? Let's just follow price action back from March. Started to rally from there. Saw a higher high. Price action came down, got the higher low. Higher high, then it turned bearish here, right? We broke this higher low with our first lower low, then lower high, lower low, followed by consolidation. Lower high here was broken on this rally. So we're back to bullish, right? There is a zone right in here where after we hit this higher high, price action came back to, rejected, confirmed the higher low, and then started pushing up again. Now we could see price action struggling a little bit at that prior high right where we were. So we're going to want to jump down to the 4-hour, take a look at that and see what's going on. But overall, we're pretty bullish now. Right, definitely back to bullish after this happened. So let's take a look. Go into the 4-hour, zoom in, and let's see what the potential is for this week. So we had a nice little rally here, right? This was that lower high that broke. Price action pushed above 140, quickly retested, continued to rally, threw in a nice little pattern there. And then we hit 144, reverse from there, and now we're taking out, 142. So this is pretty interesting, right? Obviously, this is, mid downtrend, huge, bearish volume stepping in. We took out 142, but really we want to see a little bit more time spent in this area and then some rejection, right? I want to see this kind of form maybe some sort of pattern, something similar to this. But this is a decent amount of volume where we don't want this to just take off, right? And we're not just going to enter on that either. I need to see some sort of convincing lower high rejection from 142. And then we could target down towards 140. Right. And this trade, we marked it up, risking about 50, looking to get about 160. And it looks just over a 3-to-1 risk reward. So not bad there. Now, if this does come back and break back above 140, we need to see the opposite, right? A higher low above, confirm structure, and then we could comfortably say, all right, this is probably going to push back up to 144. We could start scoping out some setups. Okay, but yeah, that's EJ. Really at a crucial level. 142 has kind of played a pretty big part over here in the past. So just wait for something convincing, clear price action, and then we could, re-enter on that. Okay, so that's EJ. Let's jump over to gold. This is going to be the last pair that I cover for you guys. We're going to do the same thing here. Daily time frame. Let's zoom out and just follow price action. So, I've been following gold for a while. I know that since we broke, 1920 over here, this consolidation, it's really just been bearish. Failed to push higher there. This was the higher low we're waiting to play out for to continue bullish. Pushed up a little bit and then just failed to follow through. Right? Came back from there, took out this higher low, got a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So it's really just been bearish since that point back here in April. So pretty steady trend, pretty healthy trend. It recently pulled back to meet this high right here, this lower high right here, right at 1730. So let's drop down to the 4-hour, take a closer look at that. But we do now know that overall, we're still very bearish on the daily. Okay, so let's go to the 4-hour. Bring the charting tools back on. And what's going on here? Right, so we're actually seeing the opposite on the 4-hour. It's looking more bullish. And that's because we just broke above 1675, right? Rallied through that, gave us a higher high. Now it's coming back for a higher low, right? So this zone becomes super key because on the daily, it's showing we're still overall bearish until we break 1735. But here we have a 4-hour situation that could give us a pretty good setup, right? So the 4-hour is looking bullish, the daily is looking bearish. Okay, so we're looking for really reactions at 1675. If we get a nice rejection from there, confirmed 4-hour high or low, we could have a nice trade there. The price action's good. But then the opposite, let's say 1675 doesn't hold up. Price action breaks below. Now this 4-hour becomes a bearish trend and it lines up with the daily. So that becomes a pretty large short opportunity. So really either way this plays, we could have a pretty good opportunity. And if it bounces, 4-hour still looking bullish. If it breaks below, now the 4-hour lines up with the daily bearish trend. So really we could have a good situation either way. Let's go ahead and mark this one up. Just because. And keep in mind, this is gold, so the pips are a lot more. But let's see if this works out here. So we're risking about 150, and we're looking to get down towards 1630, which is about 430 pips away. So it's just shy of a 3-to-1. Again, this would slightly vary depending on where that price action kicks in and where that lower high actually forms below 1675. But this would be our first target, 1630, followed by 1600, which would technically be the next lower low in the daily trend. Okay, so there's a lot of potential here. One thing to note is that this does have good volume. So whichever way we do go, we should have a pretty high quality setup, pretty easy to spot, not too little volume, not too much volume, but something, right in the middle, which is what we're looking for. So I'm excited for gold. We're pretty close to our level of reaction. So this one's pretty high on the watch list, along with some of the others, but this is actually the last pair that I'm covering for you guys. So I'm going to do a quick recap. I went over DXY, AU, AJ, UJ, EJ, and gold. And these are live charts. So TradingView has this cool feature where, if I post this on Sunday, which we both do every week, you can open it up, play it forward, and it'll show you how the analyses are playing out. Now, a lot of people have used these to their benefit. Some people find it's very helpful, helps them see things a little bit more clearly, but it's free. We drop it in Discord and Telegram. And yeah, it's something you guys can utilize every week. But I'm going to pass off to Angelo for now. Thank you guys. Hopefully you guys got some value out of this. You're bearish on AU? Okay, good to know. Good to know. All right. Looks bearish now, though.
Hey, what's up? You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, cool. Yeah, if you guys have any ideas, feel free to post in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen in 1 second here. Just give me a minute. So just as a reminder, anybody that wants to do the giveaway, just post on your IG story, just tag the funded trader tag a Forex League, and then we're going to pick a winner at the end of this session. So let me go ahead and share up. You see my screen?
Good to go.
All right, cool. All right, so like Nick did, we're going to start over on DXY. First, we're just going to take a look at last week and see how things ended up playing out. So the dollar last week, we started the week, let's see, October 2nd. We started the week over in this area, and we were pretty much looking for price to continue to the downside because we were in this red zone right here. So if you guys weren't on the session last week, we went over this thing breaking from an uptrend into a downtrend, starting to form these lower highs and lower low points. And then now, the point that we're at now, we ended up pushing to the downside. We hit a level of support, and then we could see we came all the way back. Now, I was anticipating price to continue to form some lower high points and continue to move to the downside. But if we do go back, let's see if the news events from last week pop up. So I don't have it on right now to have the news events pop up. But regardless, we could see that price took a turn in the middle of the week last week. So let's go ahead and play this forward. And then this is where we're currently at. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete all this. Let's just zoom out a little bit and see what's actually going on for this week. Let's go up to the weekly. So DXY has just been fighting around this area for the past couple weeks, around the 112 area. The three things that I like to look for on the weekly time frame are going to just be overall price action. As you can see, this thing has just been bullish, pretty obvious. And then I like to look for a level of weekly resistance or support. I do have my level already marked right here. So 112. As you guys can see, price has rejected this area pretty drastically. So we were anticipating a retest of a previous high because we're always just looking for a retest in any type of trend. This thing ended up retesting this high right here. So what is this telling me right now? We had this spinning top candle, so like a reversal candle, telling me that we were going to have this retest. Then it came down. We had the retest. Now at this point, all signs are pointing that DXY is going to continue to push based on TA, is going to continue to push to the upside. Now let's kind of zoom out a little bit more and let's just see, to the upside, what are some potential levels? And I believe we marked this last week. Our next major area of resistance for the dollar is actually around this 125 area. But we do have these three highs right here. So we have this area where price came up, rejected it once, twice, came up, rejected it, right? We didn't really find support in this area, and then came up, found very minor support, ended up rejecting it. I didn't mark this as a key level or anything just because we did not really find support at all. It's more just a resistance level. But that being said, this is a supply zone that has not been tested yet. So however you want to draw this, we're just going to draw in a little supply zone right there. So coming back to where we currently are at right now, let's just get this back into focus. So pretty much having this zone up here, this previous supply zone that is yet to be retested, and we just had, this bullish price action. Let's just zoom in a little bit right here. So we had our retest, right? Price has been making this uptrend, going to the upside, boom, retesting here, retesting here with this wick, coming to the upside. Now we just retested here with this wick. So everything's pointing, all signs are pointing that we're going to make a new high, and this weekly trend is just going to continue. And this is the next level of resistance. This 119, 120 area is really the next area where we could see major resistance. Now, if for some reason, DXY this week, based on fundamentals, ends up pushing back to the downside, we would then need to fall below this 112 area. So I'm pretty bullish at this point on DXY, based on the TA, based on everything I just mentioned, coming down to even the 4 hour. We were in this mini downtrend on the 4-hour time frame. We clearly just broke above the red zone right here. So we've got some momentum on DXY. We'll see this week if this can carry, but judging how this is looking, let's start to go over to some of these USD pairs, and let's start to see, what's going on with this. So let's come up to the weekly time frame. NU pretty much is just at the NU has already pushed, right? It had a huge push to the downside. At this point, we were trying to find some orders last week. But as always, it's just extremely risky to be taking trades, at least swing trades, after it's already had this huge swing to the downside. So let's just go ahead and at least take off. We're going to review the trade from last week, and let's at least just take this off. Right here. All right, so again, a couple of things we're looking at. Let's look at the trend, clearly bearish. Let's look at price action. Price action last week, we have this huge like reversal type candle here. This like inverted hammer candle, huge wick to the upside. And this is just signaling that, buyers tried to step in, sellers were still present in this entire like move right here. But at the same time, there's no move to the downside on this. So there was no sellers that were willing to continue to get in at these prices. And as we kind of zoom out a bit, we are in a very interesting area for NU. We're at this, we have not like closed below this area in a long time. We'd have to go back. We'd have to go back all the way to 2009. So we have not been in this area. It's obviously a very interesting area that we're currently in. Judging how that's forming, let's just go down to the 4-hour, because this also closed below this major support level right here. So this is a good area that we can use to potentially take some short opportunities. And as you can see, pretty much we had this huge push. Boom. And then we had this flag start to form. And then now the best possible move that we can make is something like this. This is something that we were really looking for last week. Last week we started literally on this session. I had that trade mapped here. That was a potential trade to take. It was pretty much like this. And the only way we were going to take this trade is if price came into the red area and we had some sort of bearish, reversal, some sort of bearish engulfing. As you can see, price came up, didn't reverse, we didn't get any confirmation on this, and it just continued to go up, and then ended up hitting, the top of this channel right here. And at this point now, we just broke support. So we have that confirmation. We just broke this trend line. We just broke before this level of support, this weekly support level. So really all signs right now are pointing for NU to continue to go to the downside. Obviously, we just went over DXY. That thing looks to be very bearish as well. And this has a ton of room to fall. If this thing does end up falling to the downside, we have a lot of room to push to the next level of support down at 535. So however you want to take this trade, whether you want to get in now, whether you want to wait for some sort of confirmation, which is always more highly recommended. But it's really, in my opinion, all signs are showing that this thing is going to continue to push to the downside. It's really just how far will it go down? And obviously without price being in this area since 2009, it's kind of a risky play. But if we're just basing this off TA, all signs are pointing for NU to go to the downside. So that's definitely a potential trade for the week. Let's come over to USD CAD. Let's come up. So, all right. So last week we had, let's just go ahead and take off this. So at the beginning of last week, we were at this weekly level of resistance at 138. Let's just zoom out a bit just so we can see why is that level there. We had resistance right here. We had support right there. And then I'm sure we could go further back. We had resistance right there, support right here, resistance, so on and so on. So zooming in, this was definitely a key area that we should be like wary of because the way that price has reacted to it recently. So coming into last week, it looks like I mapped out two scenarios here. Pretty much we were either going to reject this zone and look for a sell once we got some confirmation, or we're just going to continue in this uptrend on the 4 hour and then look to enter on the next higher low because we just couldn't enter in this area. So as price, so if you see here, price rejected very clearly the red zone. And then we came up, we retested it again. So this is where we're currently at. We could have definitely gotten faked out by taking a short kind of in this area right here. If we did take an entry there, you know, it's kind of not the best area to enter on if you wanted to swing trade, just because would have had to throw in stops up here. At the same time, if we truly are trying to swing trade this still is not a terrible risk reward, 2.6 to 1. But the area that we're currently in right now is definitely a better area to enter on. One thing that we want to be weary of is just we did break this resistance here. So this was like a mini reverse head and shoulders right there, where price had this left shoulder, right shoulder, and then it broke this neckline, and then now it just pushed to the upside. So at this point, let's just take this off. Again, this is a pretty good area to take shorts from. This is trading against the dollar, obviously. So this is kind of a reverse of our sentiments on the dollar for this week. So we just want to be wary of that. But basically, if price were to break like this level support that just formed, pretty much we want to just wait for some sort of retest. And then we'd be taking this thing to the downside. So in an ideal situation, I would just be taking an entry in this area. Oh, that's cool. It looks like TradingView. TradingView's got the circle update. So I would be taking this trade in this area right here based on a break of support right there. You know, I don't want to kind of get ahead of myself and just short it right now. You could get kind of caught your pants down. This is what it would look like if you just took the short. Right now, 6 to 1, almost 7 to 1 risk reward. And this is just being pretty aggressive with the stop loss. So always better to wait for this. Obviously, if this just blows through and ends up, you know, DXY ends up being really strong this week, always kind of looking for the flip side trade. So say you enter this trade now, you lose 1%, and then you take the flip side trade because momentum's turning bullish. Then you could possibly make back, let's see, this would be the targets. You throw your stops somewhere in this area. So you lose 1% on this trade, make back 2.5% or so on this trade. And that's kind of the name of the game right there. So I'm going to take this off just because this is not something that's happening yet. And then I'm just going to leave this one on here. So that's UCAD for the week. Again, this one is against what NU and DXY look to be doing. So it is kind of a counter trend, but definitely is a decent idea. Then we had GU last week. So let's just come back to GU. This is when we were on the call last week. So why is this red zone right here really important? So coming up to the weekly time frame, we had marked off this red area. Reason being previous support right here. Look at the wicks right there. And then if we were to go further back, we could find more reasons, but this is really all we need. Definitely a strong level right there. As you can see, price kind of yo-yoed and brought back right from the support level down there. So there was really nothing stopping GU from just accelerating for the week as we kind of went over. So it was more high probability that price is going to come here than come here. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Price came up into the red zone and then price came down, right? So what are we currently, you know, trying to do with GU, you know, based on this 4 hour structure? It's really just breaking and retesting. I don't really like when this happens, when price forms a new low and then it doesn't come up to retest this previous low. Like almost always, I see price doing one of these where it extends further and then it finally comes up and like breathes a little bit and then it comes down. So we're only going to take a short on GU if something like this happens, if it comes back up, because this is just a minor retracement in my opinion. So if it comes back up into this area, that's where we'll try to take a short. Adversely, if it does just continue to push, this would be the next area that I would look to take a short. Oh man, my freaking mouse just died.
Oh, it's a wireless.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Oh man, it charges quick though.
they should make mouse pads that charge them or like keeps it active or something like that.
Well, there's an idea and a half.
All right, don't take it, guys. To the 80 of you in here, you heard it here first. This is recorded.
I guess while we're waiting on that, post some questions. Normally I could charge her for like a few minutes and then I can start using it again. So we'll take a
Gotta
little,
get a
take a little
emergency
bathroom
water.
break.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, guys? This is a good time. Post on your story if you want to enter the giveaway, but also if you do have questions about what I'm covering with the analysis, just post in the chat. I can't even scroll in the chat, so you might have to shout the questions out for us.
Right. Oh, Mohammed, I did answer that. So you said, do you look for confirmation on the 4-hour lower time frame? So up until an area of reaction, I'm on the 4-hour, and then like let's say I'm expecting in a certain area where price action is reaching for, let's say, a lower high to form. I'll then drop to the 1-hour or 30-minute, depending, for then actual execution. So on the 1-hour, let's say I'm looking for those bearish variations, 30-minute, same thing, looking for that confirmation, then I'll actually enter on those time frames. Okay, and that's just so you can be more precise with your entry. So you could find a better risk reward, find out where the actual confirmation's coming in, where it's actually entering the market, and you want to get as close to that as possible, because that's where you're going to be able to leverage your risk reward. Opposed to waiting for the 4-hour to play out, which is, if you're looking at the 1-hour in comparison to the 4-hour, you need 3 extra candles to come out just before you see the closure. In most cases, you'll have then missed the trade. So 30-minute, yeah, got it. Okay, good. Get a mouse pad that charges it real time. Yeah, boss cake. That's
Is
the
that
idea.
a thing?
It probably is. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm the first person to ever think of that. Somebody definitely did. If not, I'm Googling it right now, actually. Mouse pad charger. They have it. Logitech. They beat us to it, guys.
Logitech. Well, I have Apple mouse. I don't know why Apple mouse has the charger on the bottom, so you have to plug it in and you can't use it while you're charging.
Apple always implementing those flaws to make things more inconvenient.
Yeah, to make you like buy the fucking wireless one.
Yeah,
Wireless charger.
they know what they're doing. It's all by design.
They're like, let's put who thought of this? Like, let's put the charger smack in the middle of the bottom so then he can't use it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, good strategy.
Right. Oh man, A+ work. Oh, here's a question. This is a personal question, but why you choose to trade many pairs instead of choosing 1 or 2? So it's funny you say that, because it actually starts out with 1 or 2. So when any trader is starting out, you want to figure out which pairs you're going to be able to trade, which ones you're comfortable trading, which ones move in a way that you can see more clearly than any other pair. So there's always like a period or a phase of testing where you're going through, you're back testing all these different pairs, trying to figure out which ones you perform the best on. And then you get to this point where you have this list of pairs that that you're solid on and that you've tested and that you have good win rates on, etc. And that turns into, for some traders, 1 pair. Some have 6, some have 5, some have 10. It's really just a preference thing. The list that I've put together are the pairs that I've seen my best performance on over the past 9 years, and I've really refined that list to just pairs where I spot great setups, right? Because I only need a few trades a week, really. to get, really good percentages, good returns. So that's how I develop my list. And as should everybody. I mean, you shouldn't just pick up a random pair and say, all right, UJ is my pair now, guys. Like, no, it doesn't really work like that. You got to test it. You have to see how you perform on it. If you're even able to handle those fast movements, and then, kind of go from there. Like AU is really slow moving. That's a beginner pair. GJ is really fast moving. Always has been. That's an advanced pair. So it's always just kind of like figuring out what works for you.
All right, we're back.
All right. Charged and ready.
We'll see how long it lasts.
Yeah.
All right, so back on GU, just to finish up, no real setup on this, just waiting. Only 2 spots that I would enter on. So let's go over to GJ. So GJ was in the same situation as GU for last week. So we started off the week in this area. And let's just go back up to the weekly. So pretty much with GJ, we're seeing again this like whipsaw effect where price retested our lower liquidity zone, rejected this support level, held the trend line. So we were just great to assume that we're just going to pump back up into this other liquidity zone right here at 165. And then coming down to the 4-hour, as we can see, price just pushed up, hit the zone. Now we're looking for some sort of break and retest to the downside. And then as you can see, price had a break, rejection to the downside. So let's just see, this week, what should we be looking for with GJ? It's kind of in a rather interesting area. Again, very similar to GU. They don't line up this closely all the time, but right now they're correlated really closely. I would personally, you could just take a sell right now, right? You could just take a sell based on the testing of support, rejection, target to the trend line, target to the next liquidity zone. But I personally would just want something more concrete. So we're still just waiting for this to come back up to retest the resistance level one more time. This is where I would take my next potential trade. Not looking for buys at all right now because we're below the resistance, this main resistance area. So this is kind of what a trade would look like. Trade here, target there, 3.6. So 3.6 risk reward. So obviously good risk reward on this. And then, if your stops, you want to get real tight on that. I just like to use the resistance level right there. So GJ and GU are correlated. I don't see any reason why this thing would, continue to or would break the resistance and go to the upside. We have to see something crazy on that. So let's go over to NAS 100. All right, so last week, let's just go over last week's trade. So we started the week, we had this gap down and we were below the support. And I was saying, I'm only going to take a sell if we reject this area. As you can see, there was no rejection at all. This thing just blew up to the upside. And then it's like, all right, you could have took a buy in this area, wait for the retest of the support level right there. Personally, not like the greatest entry in the world, not something that I would personally take. But let's just get this down. Now, the reason I say that is just, it doesn't actually come down to retest its previous high, doesn't actually form any sort of price action that I would want to take an entry on. This isn't really an entry candle right here. This is like, I don't know, more indecisive than anything. And then obviously if it follows up with this bearish candle with no wick to the downside, you just want to get out of that trade. So looking at where we're currently, what we're currently doing, let's come up to the weekly, like clear things up a little bit. So I always like to use the weekly as, my overall what's going on. And as we can see, price was in an uptrend. We broke into a downtrend, broke support, retested it, broke support, and then we ended up having this like fake out to the upside. Price came up, grabbed liquidity. Now we're pushing down again. So what is going on with NAS 100, right? Price action on this is pretty wild. I'm just gonna look at a few things. We're at support. We have this reversal type candle, this like spinning top at the bottom here, almost like a doji. And we're after a large push. What this is telling me late last week, we had a lot of news come out, equities dumped, all this stuff. What this is telling me is there is room for this to recover, right? There's room for this thing to breathe back to the upside, to grab liquidity again. coming down to the 4 hour, am I going to just sell right now? No, right? There's really no reason for me to sell on NAS 100 unless, we break another support level. There continues to be fundamental news as to why, these pairs are going to keep going down. These stocks can keep going down. So for me, what am I going to do with this? I don't personally love any trades on NAS 100 right now. If I were to take a trade, I would be waiting for something like this, a consolidation on the support level, some sort of break. We could even just lower this. So some sort of consolidation like this, and then price breaks. And then we see a little bit of a retest, and this all could happen pretty quickly, right? So let's just lower all this. So we change what our expectation is. And then I'd be looking for something like this where we would take a long with it in mind that price could come up and retest here. You throw stops there, and this is the next liquidity zone all the way up there. So this is the play on NAS for now. If it just continues to dump to the downside, right, we're just going to wait for actual confirmation on this one. But, say NAS comes up into this area and then we start to see some bearish price action again, we'll see when the time comes. But for now, this is my play on NAS 100 for the week. Again, it's got to consolidate, got to break resistance, and then retest as support for me to consider actually taking an entry on this one. So those are all the pairs. Again, we did NU, the most clean kind of setup for me, technical analysis wise. We had UCAD, which is kind of inverse to NU. So if you want to take a sell on NU, take a sell on NU and take a sell on UCAD, and then you can kind of monitor those. Maybe one of them ends up hitting stop loss. You let the other one kind of run out. And then GU, not really close to anything. GJ, not really close to anything either. And neither is NAS 100. We'll just see if this plays out. And then last but not least are the neighborhood favorite BTC USD. So, this thing obviously hasn't been doing much for quite some time. We've been in this sideways movement for, holy shit. Yeah, we've been in this sideways movement for 3 months. So, BTC has not done anything in 3 months, and there is really no reason that it's going to continue to do anything. And this is what I originally kind of mapped out, is this whole trade path where price consolidates, goes sideways like it is now, pushes down to 12,000. We have some sort of impulse, goes sideways, makes everyone lose hope. Then it comes up and then everyone's like, I give up on BTC. And then it just goes up 1,000,000%.
Yeah, right there is where everyone gives up, literally.
Yeah, like this is the point at which you're in the desert for like 3 years. And there's not been water for 3 years. And you're like, I'm just going to die. Like, I'm just going to give up. And then all of a sudden you wake up and your crypto app is like, BTC is up 300%.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That's how it's gonna go.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So there's obviously a lot of things that influence BTC. A lot of it just comes down to the regulation of it, and as it becomes more regulated, all these funds in the US, hedge funds, investment funds, family funds, they'll all start to pour money into it. And diversify into BTC as an asset class. And when or if that happens, right, the market cap of crypto, we'll talk about this every week until it happens. The market cap of crypto will go up exponentially just because money will pour in. The thought is that BTC will be, one of the leaders in that gets that liquidity. And then BTC will go up as well. With the market cap, and considering the market cap is only at max 3 trillion, and we say this just to use this as a simple correlation, Apple currently has a market cap of 3 trillion. So if the whole crypto market is not bigger than Apple right now. I mean, just think about how big the crypto market could become if it becomes more regulated. And obviously if it doesn't blow up into a million pieces. So
Right. And that's the thing too, is like price action won't always be this volatile, guys. It's a relatively small market. So once we do get that injection of, institutional money and this becomes a major player market, it'll start to stabilize, relatively. You won't see these huge swings of, 80%, hundreds of percent. You won't see that as much. It'll become more or less like an indice, where it's a little bit more stable in comparison. But yeah, I mean, that's what happens with new markets. Smaller cap, more volatility. Same goes with like, if you want to compare the volatility aspect to like penny stocks, same thing. A lot of huge potential for volatility up until a certain threshold, and that's like the few dollar mark. And, maybe the threshold is 20 or 10 trillion for crypto before we start seeing, more stable movement where we don't have this 2-year period of 80% loss and then hundreds of percent gain and so on and so on. So this volatility will end at some point, whatever, projection that is, 10, 15 years, whatever. But this is where a lot of opportunity lies too, right? It's an emerge. It's still technically a new market, a lot of upside potential until we get to that stable like mark, right? Stable status, let's say. And would you agree with that, Angelo?
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's far off from having stability. That's for damn sure. So
Yeah.
we're just gonna sit here, really all we can do is just dollar cost average, if we do believe in the coins or in the general kind of construct of what blockchain can potentially do as a disruptive, new industry and idea and whatnot and technology. If we believe in that, then we can continue to dollar cost average and just wait it out. And, think of it like this. I mean, if by 2026 goes up here, like let's just, for context, even just let's just pull up Apple. Because you just look at Apple, let's see, here's some, oh man.
Another computer send in.
Someone's like hacking right now.
Oh man, try to get that fresh analysis, bro.
Fuck. Yeah, I never even stood a chance. Like, yeah, like I could just see Apple like cratering. Like this thing is so high.
It is up there. I mean, this recent rally, I mean, since 2018, right? We're what, at the close to the $40 mark. And yeah, look where we are now,
It's
140.
gonna have such a correction, dude. Dude, imagine Apple goes out of business. Like that, like as if that would ever happen, but like a
Right.
correction like this, holy shit, that'd be nuts.
I mean, that's technically the next spot of where I would see, that there's a key zone there. Right at that 58-60 mark. It's
Yeah.
definitely a key zone.
Yeah, now's actually the time to have cash, guys. Even though inflation's crazy, like cash is actually not bad right now.
Yeah. It presents an opportunity for when things go on sale.
So
Not
one thing
bad.
to look at with Apple, guys, is like think like all the way back here at 68 cents, right? Like we have our $6. I mean, like we have, oh my God, this room to push up, and then we're like, oh my God, there's this much room to push up, and then and then all of a sudden, after how many years, right? After 10 years, this thing ends up pushing up 2,600%, right?
Yeah, that's wild. Wow.
So we don't want to be short-sighted when it comes to BTC, because the reality is this could take 3 years to push there, but what's going to happen in 10 years?
Right. Exponential growth, probably even more dramatic than Apple, or definitely, if it is to continue that way. The percentages are just crazy on BTC, really.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, not to say that this is a good benchmark, but just look at the percentage that it's grown, over a previous 3-year period, or even we can do a percentage that it's grown. Let's do it to here over a previous 5-year period or 4.5-year period, right? So it
Right.
grew like 1,400%, right? So, just imagine if BTC over the next, 10-year period or whatever 5-year period. We'll do 5 years.
Yeah.
Right here ends up growing, another whatever. What was it? 400%, 500%?
Yeah, it's like 400 or 500 area. But so like even these giant swings too, like if you guys remember back in 2017, the first rally when BTC was like on the map where it was like it's 500, now it's 800, now it's 1,000, all the way up to that first rally around, what was it, 20K? That was like well over a few thousand% increase, right? And then same with the next one, back up to our 60K mark, right? We hit, what was it, 3K, I believe it was, up to 60, couple thousand% there too, a few thousand% there. So like this is even pretty modest, right? Just playing it back to the prior high, that's already 500%. If you were even to apply what we had recently seen, we'd be finding ourselves at the few 100,000 mark, which obviously we're not going to do right now. That's really a huge prediction. But even at this modest one, right, back up to the prior high or the projection of 100K, we're looking at 600%, right? So there's really a lot of upside potential. It really just speaks to how new the market is, and this is probably what we're going to continue to see over the next 10 years, these types of rallies.
Yeah.
But interesting times, really.
Yeah, BTC, I mean, just look at the same thing. If it appreciates 500%, it'll be right at 100K, right where everyone thinks it's going to go. People are forecasting 150, but all we need is to get to 100K to accomplish the conqueror strategy. That's what it's now called.
It evolves, guys. Just like the market, you got to adapt, It's the
Yes.
conquer strategy.
Yeah, the conqueror strategy. So when this happens, we'll become very rich. And every person that's been on the Sunday market blitzes, I'll give $1.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's the state of this market. Definitely an exciting opportunity. Can't really say how many more of these we'll see in our lifetime, but yeah, exciting to be a part of. Definitely, you guys are ahead of the market just being on the call alone.
It's all smoke to me, but it's a very good asset to speculate. Yeah, I mean, I personally think BTC is like created to fuck everybody, but
I mean, that's the sentiment too, right? Like a lot of institutions or a lot of people won't step in until institutions really adopt it, and say, okay, this is something that we're going to designate X percentage of our portfolio to and really recognize it as a real asset. I've heard so many people and professionals kind of have that, outlook on it. It's like, okay, when the general, population trusts it, I'll trust it and see it as a good investment, which isn't a bad take. Totally understandable. We may see that in the next, 10 years, as we've been saying,
yeah, I mean, guys, BTC crypto, it's the modern day lottery. You know what I'm saying? It's the modern day lottery. It's bigger than the Mega Millions.
Yeah, well, that's true. More
More real,
millionaires are made from crypto than in the lottery.
yeah,
That's very
more
true.
realistic to win, in this than the Mega Millions. So take your chances if you want. There's nothing's guaranteed, obviously. But yeah, we're buying. We're in.
Yep. Been buying, been holding. We'll continue to buy.
Yeah, I'm gonna continue to get into BTC, Ethereum, keep getting in all these things. I wanted to get into XRP, but it didn't come down to where I wanted to go. I wanted it to come 20 cents, but it just had to turn around. But maybe we'll have a nice rejection here and come down. We'll see.
Yep. So plenty of time.
We'll see, because XRP is a great opportunity because it's still so low. If this thing comes up,
Yeah.
money.
It's like the one altcoin I have sympathy for. They drew like the short end of the stick. If you guys follow the history of what XRP's been dealing with, pretty much been stuck in lawsuits since 2017. But yeah, I mean, XRP is a good one. I agree with you on that. I've always liked this one. It's a good altcoin. But yeah, we'll see how this plays out. But yeah, I'm also a big ambassador for Ethereum.
Ethereum, yeah, the Ethereum.
Yeah, that's where most of my holdings are for sure. Ethereum, BTC, close second, and then scattered altcoins here and there.
I mean, I like how active Ethereum. Like we know Ethereum's like the leader of Ethereum, so it kind of more represents a company to me than like BTC. Like we don't even know. Like that's why, in my opinion, BTC is just so crazy because we don't even know who made it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it could be Biden. Like he could have made it. You know what I'm
It's
saying? Like,
yeah, no, I completely hear what you're saying because it's like you almost ask why. It's like, wait, why is BTC, the number one when there's so many like unknowns and it was technically like the first iteration and et cetera, but it kind of served its purpose, right? It's like, think of it as like the Pioneer coin. It kind of needed a coin like that to launch the whole market. So it served a purpose, Do I think BTC will be always, the number one coin? Absolutely not. I think the biggest coin is yet to, take that place. And maybe not even invented yet. The number one coin may not even exist yet. But yeah, I don't think BTC is going to be there forever in that number one spot. Yeah, a lot
no,
of people think Ethereum will overtake it. It's a strong likelihood there as well. I mean, we'll see.
we'll see.
And that just speaks to the upside potential, even further. If we're seeing, 60K on BTC and another coin's going to pass that, that's going to be wild.
Literally
Yeah, we'll see.
nuts. But guys, we'll be back next week. Another Sunday Market Blitz in the books. Another week. If you guys are in challenges, best of luck this week. Use risk management and don't become a statistic out here. So
Yeah.
best of luck to all you guys. Appreciate you hopping on and for the support. I'm gonna pick the giveaway winner after we get off, and this will be uploaded to YouTube in a little bit. So enjoy the week, guys, and thanks again for hopping on.
Take care, guys. Good luck this week. Peace.